The Brewers got back to the 500 mark with their win over Houston on Monday night. They're 18-18. Highest they've been is 2 games over. It's time to get some separation if they want to be in this race. Get to all that coming up next on this edition of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Pat Murphy agrees the Brewers have to pull away from the 500 mark. He said this a couple of weeks ago. 500 baseball is just not going to do it for this team. And I know they're going through some injuries and all that, but man, they got to get on a roll here sooner or later. They haven't gotten on one so far this season. Are they capable of? We'll talk about that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. Chuck Freimund here, your host. Brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. $20 off your first purchase at Game Time. Yeah, the Brewers, they've been meandering around the 500 mark all season, after getting off to that 0-4 start. And you got to wonder, are they capable of getting on a little run here? Now, the Cubs are 8 games over, all right? The Cubs are never falling back to the 500 mark this year. Yeah, they have a pretty good offense and a good team. And the Cubs appear to be they're going to have one of those seasons. They beat San Francisco on Monday night, and they just took 2 or 3 from the Brewers. The Cubs are headed for 90 wins, I would say. They're going through some injuries as well, but the Cubs offensively have enough firepower, I think, to overcome some of that. At least what we saw this past weekend and what we've noticed with these guys. It's been a tough schedule for them, and the Brewers, sooner or later, have got to start making some hay and put together a little bit of a separation from the 500 mark. I think we all agree 81-81 is not going to get it done. Maybe 85 wins, 87, maybe 87 wins. I think the Cubs are going to win 90 games. It mightn't be that the Brewers need to win 90 or do what they did last year. Are they capable of winning 93 games? I don't know. I don't think so. They've had so many injuries. Okay, and they've had a few guys they're counting on, i.e. Christian Yelich, that he's not turning it around. He hit his 1500th game on Monday night. He talked a little bit after the game about the year he's having. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I think we'd all agree, yeah, it's early. But at some point, it's not early anymore, as Rhys Hoskins said in the locker room on Sunday. At some point, it's not going to be early anymore. And the Brewers are doing all they can right now to piece this thing together and to hang in there. They're hanging by a thread at the 500 mark right now. I mean, they had a nice win against Houston on Monday night, but I would think we all agree the Brewers have not played real good baseball. They have yet to hit their stride this season. They've yet to get on a nice little roll and play consistent good baseball. As we talked in the past, maybe that's not possible, but they're going to have to do that, because I was asked today, what about the wild card if the Brewers can't catch the Cubs? The wild card's not going to happen, because you look at the National League West and what's happening there. You got 3 teams, San Diego, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. Okay. 3 teams that are at least 8 games over the 500 mark. You look at the National League East, you got the Mets. The Phillies are 4 games over the 500 mark. And the Phillies, I think, haven't played their best ball as of late either. So, yeah, this isn't going to be one of those years where getting 84 wins is going to get you into the wild card and a couple of road playoff losses. We don't want that. The Brewers need to win this division. The Brewers there's no wild card. We need to get that out of our minds. There's no talk of a wild card. They need to win this division to go to the postseason. Okay? And right now they're not playing playoff baseball. Again, it's only 6-7 weeks through the season, but sooner or later, and preferably sooner, because pretty soon the Cubs are going to be 10 games over the 500 mark. They're edging that way, and then it's going to be 11 and 12 games over the 500 mark. The Brewers are 4 games out of first place. They're tied with Cincinnati, who lost their 3rd in a row. But I think the Brewers got to get on a roll here. And I'm not saying they need a 15-game winning streak. They need to go on something like winning 7 of 9. They need to give themselves some separation away from the 500 mark, which they've not done yet this year. Having won the last 2 games, they're back to the 500 mark. They got the final 2 games with the Astros at home. They go to Tampa this weekend, on the road against Cleveland next week before coming home against the Twins. So the Brewers, Cleveland's not going to be easy. Tampa's right around the 500 mark. Houston's around the 500 mark. And Minnesota, you got to start winning some of these games. You got to prove to yourself, and you got to prove that you're going to be a contender. Right now, the Brewers are not proving that. But yes, before Memorial Day, they got to get on a little bit of a roll, because I'm afraid the Cubs are going to pull away from this thing. And yes, there's no wild card to be won this year. Nobody is from this division is going to go to the postseason as a wild card team. When I say a wild card team, a team not winning the division. Okay. One of those type of deals. So that's where we stand for the Brewers. Nice win on Monday night. Got the bats going a little early. Yelich hit a 2-run home run. He got on in the 8th inning, driven in by Rhys Hoskins. The story of the night was Tobias Myers pitching into the 6th inning. And yes, all eyes were on Tobias on Monday night because of what happened in his last start. He pitched 2 innings. He was all over the map. He didn't have a great game plan, according to Pat Murphy, and he was out of there. And as a result, the Brewers had to lean on their bullpen for the next 7 innings against the White Sox. Murphy sent a message out to Myers, says you can't be going out there without a game plan and be messing around. It was a second start of the year, and it was a very erratic start. Tobias Myers pitched on Monday night like we saw him pitch last year when he was the Brewers pitcher of the year. He pitched great. Now, he ran into trouble in the 6th inning, but Nick Mears came to the rescue. How good is Nick? Nick Mears has got some closer stuff, maybe. If we're talking about guys who are potentially closing on this team, Uribe won. How about Nick Mears? Now, I said this last year. I said the Brewers have this infatuation of loving Nick Mears. They put him on the playoff roster and all that. I think we're seeing it right now. Guy's having a pretty good year. Guy's having a really good year. Got out of that bases loaded jam in the 6th inning. That could have been a disaster. Could have been an unmitigated disaster. They overcame a throwing error, some bad defense. They overcame it, and Myers pitched into the 6th inning, and the bullpen took over and got the job done. So, yes, solid win for the Brewers. Some early hitting, put them on the board 3-0, and then adding 2 more tack-on insurance runs in the 8th inning for good measure, and the Brewers got the win. Also, a highlight in the game, Vinny Capra. I mean, should this really be a highlight? Really? He was 0 for 36 and he got a base hit. And I saw the media crowd around Capra. I did not cover the game on Monday night. I'll be out there Tuesday and Wednesday. And all the media was crowding around Vinny Capra like he just had the game-winning hit of Game 7 of the World Series. He's 0 for 36 and he got a base hit. It snapped. It was the 3rd longest streak in Brewers history. Number 1, Craig Counsell in 2011, when Counsey went 0 for 45. Greg Vaughn, 0 for 38 in 1990. Rick Auerbach, 1972, 0 for 36. I never saw Rick Auerbach play. Have his baseball card, I know. But Greg Vaughn I did see play, and of course Counsell in 2011. Vinny Capra, base hit, snapped an 0 for 36 streak. I'd be surprised if Vinny Capra was on this team by the All-Star break. I would be. I'm surprised he's still on this team. I really am. So the streak stopper right there. Some good news regarding Sal Frelick and his injury. Some very good news regarding Sal Frelick, at least right now, for the moment, as of late Monday night. We'll get to that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. And Monarch Money, man, I've been telling you, we spend money in this house. We don't spend it very well, but Monarch Money told us that. Monarch Money said, hey, when your money comes in, this is what's happening. You're going out to eat too much, all right? You don't spend a lot on online shopping, maybe some entertainment, going to concerts, but dining out is your problem. And it's easy to lose track if you're trying to keep track of yourself. You're looking at your your account, your money, your credit cards, and all that, where all your money is going to. Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO. Your personal CFO is going to give you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. It's going to help you out. It's going to tell you where all your money's going. It's going to track all your accounts, your investments, spending it all in one place, because we need to build wealth. That's what we're in this for, right? That's what we're in this world for. Building wealth, building for the future. Stop managing your money and just start building some wealth. That's what we want to do. We don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. Monarch Money is going to tell us where we stupidly spend our money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money with this offer right here. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com, and you're going to get 50% off your first year. Again, go to Monarch Money, MONARCH money.com. Use that code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get half off your first year with Monarch Money. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Dropping these podcasts late night, usually a few hours after the game. So appreciate all the people, and I get a lot of overseas people and people here and working third shift and all that who watch the podcast. I always wonder, should I be dropping these podcasts in the middle of the night and all that? And I get feedback saying, no, the guys on the West Coast who are Brewers fans, or in Arizona, or here in the great state of Wisconsin, guys who work all sorts of shifts, guys who work third shifts, guys who work at Quick Trips and whatever, they look forward to me dropping this podcast in the overnight hours. So I appreciate that. You get our podcast on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your podcast. We're the #1 Brewers podcast on the internet for this reason, because you Brewer fans out there, you made us the #1 podcast with all your great support. We've built this up in the last couple of years, and it's been great. We're getting close to 5,000 followers right now, 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. Started with a couple of hundred. Go to YouTube. Search Locked On Brewers on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. You got a 30-minute video here in the Locked On Brewers studio with all our background. It's a really cool setup that we got here in the studio. And, of course, on our audio platforms, go to Locked On Brewers, whether it's on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your podcast, your audio podcasts, make us one of your favorites on there. Search Locked On Brewers. We're on all those audio platforms. We're the #1 Brewers podcast, again, on the internet. Brewers got some #1 news on Monday, at least for the moment. He didn't play on Monday. He was not in the lineup, but Sal Frelick, the MRI says on the knee that he has some soreness. He was taken out of the game over the weekend. And it's the news is encouraging, according to the Brewers. The news is encouraging. It does not look like an injured list stint right now. We will know more in the next couple of days after the swelling goes down and all that. But according to the MRI, it does not look like it's anything serious with Sal Frelick. And we talked about, gosh, we did not need anything serious with Sal Frelick. We can't afford to lose this guy. Sometimes he's batting like third in the order on this team. That's where the Brewers are offensively. But Sal Frelick, good news with him, encouraging news. We'll see if we get some more news here later on in the week. And when I say that he's valuable to this lineup, I want to say something here. I put out this tweet on Monday night, and I got to explain it because somebody tweeted back at me and want to know what I mean when I say this. And I've said this on the podcast before. It says, what do you mean, Chuck, when you say the Brewers have a small margin of error? Small margin of error. And here's what I say this. The Brewers are not an overly talented team. They're not the Yankees. Okay. They're not the Dodgers. We know that. They're not rich in talent. They can't go out there and spend money and getting talent. The Brewers have to do everything right to win a game. Okay. They got to play solid defense like they did last year. They got to get great bullpen. They got to get starting pitching. They got to get some timely hitting. They got to do a lot of things right. I put out a tweet tonight when in the 6th inning, Myers threw that ball. They had a double play ball with runners on the corners, I believe it was, and chopper back to the mound. Myers had to go up, grab it. He turned and threw to second base, and he threw high, and runner was safe at second. Runner scored from third, and that was it. But it was a double play ball that would have got the Brewers out of the inning. Okay, now Myers eventually got them out of the inning, luckily. But, making that throw to second base, you can't have errors like that. But the Brewers have to play not near perfect baseball, but they got to play baseball where there cannot be a lot of mistakes. And that's what I mean when I say the Brewers have a small margin of error. I think most of you guys understand this with this team. The Brewers can't do things. They can't have 4 errors in a game. They can't have a couple errors. They have to pitch well. They got to have bullpen, everything. We saw that happen. Everything came together perfectly for these guys in the regular season. Postseason, it did not. Okay? Because the Brewers aren't going to go out there and unslug teams. They're not going to go out and outslug the Chicago Cubs. Okay? Yeah, occasionally they're going to put up a double-digit run spot. Yeah, that's going to happen. But for the most part, the Brewers are not that team. And especially with all these injuries and all those starting pitchers that are out. Okay? And hopefully we'll have some more good news with Freddie Peralta. But with all the starting pitchers that are out, and even with Frelick out of the lineup, okay, and the shortage of outfielders and Garrett Mitchell, and we can name other guys as well, guys who've gone out of this game, who've been on the injured list, missing a Blake Perkins, all with, you add the injuries on top of it, the margin of error for the Milwaukee Brewers becomes smaller. So yeah, they have to do so many things right to win a ball game. And if they don't, they are a below 500 team, especially with the injuries. I'm not ragging on the Brewers. I'm not. I'm just telling you the truth. We know that the Brewers and that's the great thing with Pat Murphy. And that's why Pat Murphy gets angry after games when his teams and when his guys get picked off of second base or miss the cutoff man, because he knows too. He hasn't come out and said it, but he knows they have to do all these little things right to win a ball game. He knows that. And he sets and with Tobias Myers in his last start, when he's walking guys, no, Murphy knows that he's not going to come out there and say, our team is not that talented and we got all these injuries and all that, so we can't make any mistakes. No, but you could tell by his actions, Murphy knows that the margin of error is not very big. And that's what I mean. Okay. They can't beat themselves. The Brewers can't. A team like the Dodgers can afford to do a few stupid things in a game, maybe, if they do, and get away with it because they have great talent. Great talent. The Brewers do not have great talent. So, yeah, Sal Frelick, when that knee checks out, that's a good thing because the Brewers continue to, without having Mitchell out there and Down Perkins already in the outfield and having to move Churio. You're playing Ike Collins in left, Churio in center, and you had to start Jake Bauers in right field. That is not your ideal outfield that you came out of spring training with. Churio, you're fine with him in center field. I prefer him in left at this point, but he's going to hold his own in center field. But that is not your preferred outfield right now. We all know that. And that's not ragging on the Brewers. That's just where they are. Brewers did complete the trade for our guy Quinn Priester. They sent John Holibetz, a 5th-round pick from last year, who was pitching well at Carolina. He was having a real good year at Carolina, but that's the final piece. So are you sure the Brewers don't know the Boston Red Sox anything else? I feel like they've given them half their franchise already for Quinn Priester. So Holibetz, a guy who's a 5th-round pick. What happens here when you have the player to be named later, what often is the Brewers will give the team, like the Red Sox, all right, you choose from a list of these players right here. All right, we'll take John Holibetz. Okay, you could have him. The Brewers will give like the team they're trading with. Here's a list of guys. You pick who you're interested in. Okay, we'll take. All right, you want him? Okay, that's the player to be named later. But the Brewers gave up an awful lot for Quinn Priester. I was asked if Wednesday start, if he doesn't pitch well. I was on a talk show on ESPN Lacrosse. If Priester doesn't pitch well, would he be replaced by maybe Logan Henderson? I don't know that fact. I don't know how. I know the Brewers gave up a lot for Priester. I don't know if they're going to send him down to the minors. we'll see. If he has a bad outing, he's up against Framber Valdez, so he can't give up a lot of runs coming up on Thursday. Or on Wednesday. We'll talk about that moving ahead. A couple of things, mailbag questions I wanted to get into. T Twice asked me, direct message me, said, Chuck, do you think with Joey Ortiz struggling and Jesus Made probably not ready to 2027 or 2028, do you think it's possible Cooper Pratt is called up this year? Well, Cooper Pratt was in Appleton, and now he's at Biloxi. And he's sitting all right, 252. He's got 3 or 4 home runs. He's 6'4", about 195, 200 pounds. I think the future for him is going to be at third base. And I think the Brewers haven't figured out whether he's going to be a shortstop or third baseman at the major league level. But I think he's going to be at third base. I think going forward, when we saw Turang play shortstop, or there was a rumbling that he was going to play shortstop and there was an injury, and they were going to move Ortiz to second, I think the plan is eventually, and this isn't any inside information, my gut feeling is that Turang is eventually going to be the shortstop on this team. Might not happen this year, but I think Turang is going to eventually be the shortstop. Caleb Durbin, if he works out, is going to move over to second base, and then maybe Pratt over at third base. I think that's how it's going to be. I think Turang is eventually going to play shortstop on this team. And maybe not Ortiz. I think Ortiz has got a lot to prove yet. And if he doesn't, I don't think Ortiz is long for this team. That's my gut feeling. So I think it's going to be Turang at short. I think Durbin will eventually be the second base, and Pratt over at third. I think that's how it's eventually going to eventually work out. All right, what's another one I was going to get here? Tony says, Tony, I don't believe in being overreactionary, but this is the worst period of managing we've seen from Murphy since he got the job. No, I don't know if Murphy's doing anything wrong, except he's not winning games like he did last year. I've seen a couple of darts fired Murphy's way, and that happens with every manager who's ever managed a game. Okay. From Sparky Anderson all the way down to Renee Lashman. I've heard it all. Okay. But Pat Murphy, he hasn't done anything wrong yet. He's done a few things as far as benching guys, which we didn't see last year. We'll see how that works out. He's done 3 of it. He's done it 3 times so far, but I don't think Murphy's done a bad job at all. I don't really think so. All right, we come back. We'll take a look at Tuesday's starters. We'll get that next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day, and Game Time is a terrific place. You want to go to the game coming up, maybe Wednesday? You know, on Game Time, Wednesday afternoon games, or Thursday afternoon games, man, people are getting rid of their season tickets because they got to work, and they're putting them on Game Time, man. You can get cheap tickets, last minute deals, especially last minute deals, all in pricing, lowest price guaranteed. You want Brewer tickets Tuesday or Wednesday, especially weekday games. Game Time takes the stress out of buying all the MLB tickets. Ticket prices drop as the game time gets closer, meaning you could score an incredible deal. Game Time, the official ticketing partner of Locked On. And again, with Brewers games, this is the way to go. You're sitting around on a random Friday night and say, I want to go to the Brewers game tonight. Go to Game Time. You can pick out the seat you want. You punch it on. It'll give you a seat view. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. LOCKEDONMLB. $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed with Game Time. Down the stretch we come here on Locked On Brewers. All right. Before we let you go, we'll tell you Tuesday's starter, the one-time Cub. Now pitching is for the Astros, Hayden Wesneski. He looked sharp in his first 4 starts, not so much in his last start. Kind of a swingman for most of his career is Hayden Wesneski. I think another guy that can be had by the Brewers coming up on Tuesday night, Chad Patrick. God, how great has Chad Patrick been in all his starts so far this year? He gets the ball for Milwaukee coming up on Tuesday night with a chance to clinch the winning series against these guys by winning on Tuesday night. But I'm all about trying to get on a roll right here, getting on a 4 or 5 game winning streak, 6 of 7, 7 of 9. Got to get something going. Like I said earlier in the podcast, are the Brewers capable of doing it? We will see. Time will tell. All right, everybody. If I see you at the game on Tuesday or Wednesday, so walk into the press box or whatever, whenever you see me at a game, please stop and say hello. Always love to meet the great Brewer fans and talk some Brewer baseball with you guys out there. You hit me up on Twitter, Chuck Freimund, Freimund. And of course, hit us up on our growing YouTube page. You want to put your comments? I read your comments there every morning on YouTube. Go to YouTube, hit the comments section, write your comments on there. I check it all out, man. You guys got some insightful things to say. And I love hearing what the Brewer fans have got to say because we are all one big Milwaukee Brewers community. It's going to do it. This is Chuck Freimund, Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Have yourself a great Tuesday, everybody.